Two Geeks, Two Beers. Episode 75, Time Bandits.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very, 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 very much. Awful people.
Well, hello, and welcome to Can You Believe It? Episode 75 of Two Geeks, Two Beers. With me, Tom, and my fellow geek in time, Morgan.
I can't believe it. I can't believe we made it this far. Can't believe anyone's listened this long.
Well, they might not have done. We don't know if we've got any listeners.
If you have listened all the way from episode 1 till now, let us know. Podcast at twogeeks2beers.com.
Thank you. So for this episode, I've taken another of my favourite films as a kid, and it's another 80s gem. So you know I love my time travel.
You do, famously.
In fiction, obviously. Whether it's like...
Not in fact.
Whether it's Lost, Back to the Future, Muppet Christmas Carol. I mean, we know you love that show, Doctor Who. You know, you love a bit of time travel. Well, here's another take on the time travel idea. It's Terry Gilliam's 1981 film, Time Bandits.
Sorry, can I take you back? How does time travel feature in the Muppets Christmas Carol?
Well, it's technically the first time travel was used in a fictional... I think when we mentioned that in the Scrooge episode, it was, you know, because he goes back in time through all his past selves and stuff. And he goes into the future. I
love that you just threw that out there like it's a fact. Like, the first time that time travel was used in a fictional context. No basis for that. Just having a guess.
One of, anyway. So have you seen Time Bandits?
I have never seen Time Bandits. I know next to nothing about Time Bandits. Is Sean Connery in Time Bandits?
He is in Time Bandits.
Okay,
correct.
So scratch that. I know one thing about Time Bandits.
Well, like Clue, this was a film my dad must have just recorded off the telly at some point. And I just loved it as a kid. Just watched it on the VHS over and over and over again. Great characters, great cast, genuinely funny, also quite scary in a way. And like all sort of Terry Gilliam films, it has that kind of certain quirky, cartoony and macabre atmosphere to it. But I feel like it deserves more love and attention compared to his other films, because I know that Brazil and 12 Monkeys are like really particularly loved. But I feel like Time Bandits is underrated in that respect.
Probably because it's seen as a bit frothier, right? I'd imagine.
Yeah. I feel like 12 Monkeys is dark and very miserable throughout.
You would not describe that film as frothy.
No. Are you a fan of Brazil?
This is showing me up. I don't think I've ever seen it. But
I have to admit, I think I've seen it once and can't remember much about it.
But annoyingly, I know how it ends, so ruined.
Right.
No
Okay.
point.
Yeah.
Then it's time to take a stand. To break out of your dull, humdrum life and into Brazil.
You're so pleased you could make it right this way.
Well, the funny thing is, Gilliam has actually referred to Time Bandits as the first in his trilogy of imagination. Did you know this?
I didn't know this.
So, followed by Brazil in 1985 and ending with the adventures of Baron Munchausen in 1988. All are about the craziness of our awkwardly ordered society and the desire to escape it through whatever means possible. So all three films focus on these struggles and the attempts to escape them through imagination. So Time Bandits is through the eyes of a child, Brazil is through the eyes of a man in his 30s, and Munchausen is through the eyes of an elderly man. So it's kind of like spiritual sequels.
Yeah, a thematic trilogy. Nice.
Yeah.
Didn't I write the whole thing, then bring you in to get the punctuation right? Isn't that how it went?
Well, you'd got the page numbers basically in position, but there were an awful lot of blanks.
That was it.
But you had the title, I do remember that.
Title.
I think
the spelling was wrong, I think.
It probably began with Jabberwocky, just a collaboration on Jabberwocky, which I didn't write. And then, was that the next thing you wanted to do after Jabberwocky?
No, because I was trying to do Brazil. And Dennis
Really?
O'Brien,
Even
who is
full-time?
now our manager after Life of Brian, said no. And then out of a kind of frustration, I thought, let's make a movie for the entire family. That's something that worked for everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Intelligent enough for children and exciting enough for adults, something on that sort of form.
So aside from its cast of dwarf actors and the main character of Kevin, which I'll go on to later, it does feature performances by a brilliant cast. So as you say, Sean Connery is in it, John Cleese, Shelley Duvall, Ralph Richardson, Catherine Hellman, Ian Holm, who, again, we'll talk about later, Michael Palin, Peter Vaughan, and David Warner. So a really, really great film.
I'm sold. David Warner, I'm sold. Love it.
Yeah. Well, you'll particularly love this film then. So here's a little trailer to give you a little take on Time Bandits.
The classic is back, so prepare yourself for a different kind of movie. A movie that takes you on a journey through time.
Ask me.
Travel aboard the SS Titanic. Shake hands with Napoleon. Become a personal friend to Robin Hood. You will join us at a real Roman orgy. You'll say hello to ancient Greece and marvel at the size of a young warrior's horn. You will spend an evening with the biggest Homo sapien of all time.
Did you hear something, dear?
No, I don't think so. Finally, a movie that takes you inside the fabulous world of darkness. Recognize this fellow? Well, you will when he tries to destroy all good in the universe.
Oh, no! I'm a reasonable man.
Former Beatle George Harrison brings together John Cleese, Sean Connery, Shelley Duvall, Catherine Hellman, Michael Palin, David Warner, in a journey more ridiculous than history.
Thank you very much. Very, 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 very much.
Time Bandits.
Awful people.
Well, I've got to say, I've picked probably the worst trailer I could have done because that's the American trailer of the time. And it just makes it look like a load of absolute nonsense. It makes it look like it's just a really frothy and silly. And it doesn't have that mood at all, the actual film. But anyway, get a little taste.
And it stars John Cleese as Robin Hood. Not Robin Hood. Robin Hood.
Yeah. And another gay joke in the middle of that as well, which
it was the 80s. Yeah,
it was the 80s. Yeah. So I'll go through the plot as you've not seen it, so you have an idea. Again, ruining the film for you.
Yeah,
it's your fault. You didn't watch it in advance. So
yeah, I love this podcast, if only because every episode or every few episodes you just ruin a film for me. Just describe the plot slowly in detail, and make me never want to watch the film. So yeah. Carry on. So,
11-year-old Kevin has a vivid imagination and is fascinated by history, particularly ancient Greece. However, his parents ignore his activities, having become more obsessed with buying the latest household gadgets to keep up with their neighbours. One night, as Kevin is sleeping, an armoured knight on a horse bursts through out of his wardrobe. Kevin hides as the knight rides off into the forest, where once his bedroom wall was. When Kevin looks back out, the room is back to normal, and he finds one of his photos on the wall very similar to the forest he just saw. The next night, he gets his satchel with supplies and a Polaroid camera, but is surprised when 6 dwarves spill out of the wardrobe. Kevin quickly learns the group has stolen a large worn map and is looking for an exit in his room before they are discovered. Kevin is hesitant to join them until the apparition of a floating, menacing head, also known as the Supreme Being, appears behind them, demanding the return of the map.
How far into the film are we at this point?
About 5 seconds.
Blimey. All right.
Anyway, here is said moment. And hopefully after that god-awful trailer, this gives you a better idea of what the film's like.
This will redeem the film in my eyes.
He's found it! What's the way out? He's never done that before. Come on, you lot. No! Not like that. Wait for me to give the order. Right. Ready. 1. Stop! You never start on 1. Who ever heard of anybody starting anything on 1?
What is it then? 2 or 3?
3! He's found us!
Zordon-esque there. The what's he called? The Supreme Being or something?
The Supreme Being, yes. Yeah. Obviously, after that happens, they land in Italy during the Napoleonic Wars. As they recover, Kevin learns that Randall is the lead dwarf of the group, which also includes Fidget, Strutter, Og, Wally, and Vermin.
Vermin?
Yeah. So I did love all of the dwarves. They each have their own personality, and they kind of, they shit over Snow White's lot. Randall comes across like a crooked Del Boy mixed with a bit of Bob Hoskins.
Yeah.
Strutter is like the clever one. Wally is the muscle. Og is the dim but dependable one. Fidget is the timid but useful one, and Vermin is the one that sort of eats things and doesn't really provide much.
And they don't just shit on Snow White's dwarves.
Vermin would.
They shit over them.
Yeah,
they shit over them.
Yeah. So it turns out that these dwarves were once employed by the Supreme Being to repair holes in the space-time fabric, but instead they realised the potential to use the map to steal lots of gold and stuff. So with the map and Kevin's help, they visit several locations in space-time and meet figures such as Napoleon Bonaparte and Robin Hood.
Robin Hood.
Yeah, Robin Hood. Napoleon is played brilliantly by the late Sir Ian Holm. So Ian Holm sadly died only a couple of weeks ago as we record this. Probably the first time I saw him in anything. I think you could say it's potentially the best portrayal of Napoleon I've ever seen. Anyway,
how many portrayals of Napoleon have you seen?
Good point. Yeah, good point. But yeah, just a good chance to say what a great actor Ian Holm is, really.
But he's better than the guy in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, who's also very good. If you're talking,
yeah, good point. I forgot. Yeah, he was really good in that. Yeah.
He was also. Do you know what? There's a lot of really strong portrayals of Napoleon out there. But Ian Holm is definitely one of the best.
I think that the mayor of Castiglione and his council would like very much to surrender now, please. With this city, we have the whole area of Western Lombardy at our feet.
Oh, go away.
And from one brilliant actor to another, do you remember when John Cleese used to be funny?
Yeah.
Good morning. You're all robbers.
Oh,
then,
the best, Mr. Hood.
Jolly good. And you're a robber, are you? Jolly good. And do you enjoy robbing then?
Well, it helps pay the rent, sir.
Jolly good. And you're a robber too, are you? How long have you been a robber?
4'1".
Good Lord. Jolly good. 4'1".
Yes.
Well, that is a long time, isn't it? Well, now, I hear you've made a pretty good haul.
Well, see for yourself, sir.
I say. Crikey. I mean, I've been in robbing for years, but I've never seen anything like this. Crumbs. And you acquired all this by yourselves?
Well, it was a good day, Mr. Hood.
Jolly good day.
It's nice, isn't it?
Rather. Well, I mean, what can I say? Thank you all very, very much indeed.
Oh, don't mean... What?
Well, I mean, it's frightfully kind of you. The poor are going to be absolutely thrilled. Have you met them at all?
Who?
The poor?
The poor?
Oh, you must meet them. I just know you'll like them. Charming people. Of course, they haven't got 2 pennies to rub together, but then that's because they're poor.
So you can get the sort of Monty Python-esque link, obviously, with Gilliam at the helm and a lot of the Pythons involved in the film as well. So Kevin uses his camera to document their visits. However, they're unaware that their activities are being monitored by Evil, a malevolent being who is able to manipulate reality and is attempting to acquire the map himself so that he can remake the universe to his design. Now, Tim Curry...
So the concept of Evil is also a character in this film, separate from the Supreme Being.
Yeah. So I mean, it's the devil and God essentially, but
right.
Yeah. So Tim Curry, we touched upon in the Legend episode, arguably the best devil ever. But I would say the brilliant David Warner is very close behind as Evil. I know you're a big fan, so let's.
I met David Warner once. David Warner was in a film called Morgan.
Okay, so you obviously watched it.
Yeah, and so I met him once, and he signed a book for me, and he signed it from one Morgan to another. There you go. Nice little bit of David Warner trivia for you.
Amazing. That's really cool. Okay, well here is Mr. Warner in action.
Yes.
So, these are the sort of people the Supreme Being allows to steal his map. Look at them. Stunted little pros. I wouldn't even trust them to wipe their own noses.
No, sir. It's much too difficult for them.
What sort of Supreme Being created such riffraff? Is it not the workings of a complete incompetent?
But he created you, evil one.
What did you say?
Well, he created you, so he can't be totally...
Never talk to me like that again. No one created me. I am evil. Evil existed long before good. I made myself. I cannot be unmade. I am all-powerful.
But why, if that's the case, are you unable to escape from this fortress?
It's a good question. Why have I let the Supreme Being keep me here in the fortress of ultimate darkness?
Because you...
Oh, shut up. I'm speaking rhetorically.
Oh, of course.
I let him keep me here in order to lull him into a false sense of security.
Ah, clever. Clever.
When I have the map, I will be free, and the world will be different, because I have understanding.
Understanding of what, Master?
Of digital watches. And soon I shall have understanding of video cassette recorders and car telephones. And when I have understanding of them, I shall have understanding of computers. And when I have understanding of computers, I shall be the Supreme Being. God isn't interested in technology. He knows nothing of the potential of the microchip or the Silicon Revolution. Look how he spends his time. 43 species of parrots. Nipples for men. Slugs. Slugs? He created slugs. They can't hear, they can't speak, they can't operate machinery. I mean, are we not in the hands of a lunatic?
Very strong portrayal there of the ultimate evil. Tim Curry, as you said, another good one. One of my other favourite portrayals of the devil is Gabriel Byrne in End of Days. Mostly just because of the scene in which Arnie says to Satan, "You're a fucking choir boy compared to me, a choir boy." Just for that scene alone.
We should do ranking the devils because we've done ranking everything else.
Ranking the Satai.
Yeah, we were going to do ranking the Jezai, weren't we?
Yeah, maybe for Halloween.
Yeah, good idea. So through evil's actions, Kevin becomes separated from the group and ends up in ancient Greece. Now, how do I say this? Right, I'm gonna send you this.
All right.
You tell me how I say this out loud.
Okay. Agamemnon.
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 So I didn't study ancient Greece. So
have you never seen Troy?
No.
Film Troy.
Did anyone?
I saw it. It's okay.
Okay. So
Agamemnon.
He ends up meeting King Agamemnon.
There you go.
Now, after Kevin inadvertently helps Agamemnon kill an enemy, the king adopts him. Now, the king is played brilliantly, and at his peak, I may add, by Sean Connery. So here you go.
You can say Agamemnon, but you can't say Poirot.
Poirot.
You saved my life, remember?
The enemy of the people is dead!
I don't know if that comes across over audio as well as it should, but I feel like that was Sean at his charismatic best. He just sort of smiles and you go,
always adds a touch of class to a movie, doesn't it? Like when he rocks up at the end of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Or Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, I should say. When he rocks up at the end of that, it's like, yes. I always sort of forget he's in it, and then he comes in, it's like, yes, Sean Connery. And I have to say, brilliant ancient Greece accent there from Sir Sean.
Really trying.
I mean, what did they sound like in ancient Greece? For all we know, For all we know,
Yeah.
they may have sounded like a lazy Scotsman.
What was it in Highlander? Didn't he just keep changing accents throughout the thing?
No, he apparently studied the Spanish accent.
Oh yeah.
In order to perfect it for the movie Highlander.
Yeah.
And didn't fucking work at all.
That was it. But funny thing is, in the original script, King Agamemnon was introduced as. It said in the script, the warrior took off his helmet, revealing someone that looked exactly like Sean Connery, or an actor of equal but cheaper stature. And then, to Terry Gilliam's surprise, the script ended up in Connery's hands, and he just wanted to play it. So his agent approached him and said, "I'll do it. I'll be well up for this." So I like that.
So George Lazenby out of another job.
So Randall and the others soon locate Kevin and abduct him, much to his resentment because he was loving life in ancient Greece with Sean Connery as his new dad. And they escape through another hole, this time arriving on the Titanic, obviously. So there are a couple of times in the film where Michael Palin, who co-wrote the film with Terry Gilliam, and Shelley Duvall appear as frustrated lovers who get interrupted by the time bandits in different time periods. Don't have anything to do with the plot, but Palin is brilliant as ever in it.
So are they the same people throughout all the different time
I don't
periods?
think so. I think they're just maybe they're descendants. Maybe that's the whole point. It's sort of like Cloud Atlas.
It would be weird if they're descendants, given that they're lovers in all the different
good point.
in all the different timelines. Yeah. Anyway,
alone at last.
Isn't it glorious?
Yes, I love the ocean. God, how I love her. She's so damn
wet.
Wet, yes. Yeah, so damn wet. Pansy, look at me.
Yes, Vincent.
Do you love me?
Of course I love you.
You don't mind the thing on the end of my nose?
Oh, you mean your...
Yes, my...
No, darling. Don't be silly.
Could you share a house with a chap who has a thing like this on the end of his nose?
Of course, my love. Everyone has something odd about them.
Yes.
Why, I've got an enormous...
Pansy.
So after it sinks, they are forced to tread water while they argue with each other until Evil manipulates the group and transports them into his realm, the Time of Legends. And this is after they survive encounters with ogres and a giant, and the ogre is played fantastically by Peter Vaughan, who ended up in Game of Thrones as the Aemon. What's his name?
Aemon?
What was his name? Grandmaster something. Oh yeah. Don't know. Hang on, I'll look it up.
Grandmaster Aemon. Fuck it, he doesn't want you back. You pledged your fealty to me, Grandmaster Aemon.
See, Grandmaster Aemon.
Fuck what I said. It don't mean shit now.
But anyway,
niche.
But yeah, Peter Vaughan. Again, he's one of those people who's just in. He was just in things for so many years. He never really appreciated how good he was, and here he is playing. An ogre who they end up on his ship, and he's just brilliant as this just disgusting creature, essentially. So here you go.
Look at these bloody spots. There's a diet, that is.
You'll outgrow them, dear.
All this bloody fish. There used to be a time when you could be sure of catching old boots, cans, hat racks, boxes. Now it's prawns all the bloody time. Anti-pollution.
So what I like about that is that they purposely had him play an ogre, this disgusting bloke, I suppose, but then married to Catherine Hellman, who's just like a normal, like, glamorous woman.
Very much punching above his weight there. Peter Vaughan was also in Brazil. I just found out, and he did play Grandmaster Aemon in Game of Thrones, which was his final role before he died in 2016.
Yeah. So Kevin and the dwarves locate the fortress of ultimate darkness and are led to believe that the most fabulous object in the world awaits them, luring them into Evil's trap. Evil takes the map and locks the group in a cage over an apparently bottomless pit. But while looking through the Polaroids he took, Kevin finds one that includes the map, and the group realise there is a hole in the fortress near them. They escape from the cage, steal the map again, and split. Kevin must distract the pursuers while the others go through the hole. Evil confronts Kevin and takes the map back from him. The dwarves return with various warriors and fighting machines taken from across time, but evil has no trouble overpowering them all. So you have this really exciting thing. Again, pointless playing it to you over audio because it would just be music and action sequences and stuff. But it was like, World War II soldiers, cowboys, gladiators, all sorts, all getting into one scene, taking on evil. But he keeps coming up with new things to kill them all off one by one.
This is a sidebar, but you mentioned there a bottomless pit. And surely the whole point of a pit is that it has a bottom. Like, the bottomless pit is often thrown up as like a terrifying idea. But actually, the real impact of the pit comes with the fact that you eventually hit the ground. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah. You should tell that. So next time you're stuck up above one and someone's put you there.
Yeah.
So as Kevin and the dwarves cower, evil prepares to unleash his ultimate power, but suddenly he is engulfed in flames and burned into charcoal. And then from the smoke, a besooted elderly man emerges, revealed to be the Supreme Being, played by Sir Ralph Richardson. So you could say that was a bit of an anticlimax, but when I'm looking back at it, it's a bit like, oh yeah.
I mean, certainly the way you delivered it, it sounded like.
I mean, yeah.
I'm sure it was handled better in the actual motion picture.
I mean, that whole sequence took up a good half hour, 45 minutes. Lots of action sequences, really exciting stuff, but I've just sort of put it down to like a 30-second boring delivery that I always do. Anyway, here's the Supreme Being making his entrance.
Great.
I hate having to appear like that. It really is the most tiresomely noisy manifestation. Still, rather expected of one, I suppose.
Get down. Oh, great one. Oh, supreme being. Oh, creator of all the universe, without whom will be naught but scarab beetles on the...
dreadful mess. One thing I can't stand, it's mess.
So he reveals that he actually allowed the dwarves in the first place to borrow his map, and the whole adventure had been a test of his creation.
Right, because he was annoyed before, so he was just playing with them.
Yeah. So he's just bored, I guess, if nothing else. He orders the dwarves to collect all the pieces of concentrated evil, warning that they can be deadly if not contained. He recovers the map and allows the dwarves to rejoin him in his creation duties. The Supreme Being disappears with the dwarves, leaving Kevin stranded behind as a missed piece of evil begins to smoulder in the background.
Ooh. Time for bits 2.
It says here that Sir Ralph Richardson took his role so seriously that he submitted his own red ink edits, complete with the message, God wouldn't say that.
I love that Ralph. I was going to say, I'd love that Ralph thinks he has that insight. If anyone was going to have that insight,
exactly.
it would be Ralph.
Kevin awakes in his bedroom to find it filled with smoke. Firefighters break down the door and rescue him as they put out a fire in his house.
Right.
One of the firemen...
Was this entire film just some sort of fantasy, smoke infused fantasy that was all happening in Kevin's head? Or?
Well, who knows? But then it says one of the firemen finds that his parents' new toaster oven caused the fire. As Kevin recovers, he finds that one of the firemen resembles Sean Connery, or rather King Agamemnon.
He's all like, you look like Sean Connery. And actually, that other bloke also looked a bit like Sean Connery.
He discovers that he still has photos from his adventure as well.
Okay.
And in one of the bleakest endings to a film ever, Kevin's parents discover a smouldering rock in the toaster oven. Recognizing it as a piece of evil, he warns them not to touch it, but ignoring him, as they always do, they touch it and they explode, leaving only their shoes behind. So here's an example of yet another sort of film that, we watched as youngsters and just sort of went with it. But I don't think they'd make it like this anymore, to be honest. But here you go.
This is what started it, eh? Left the Sunday joint cooking all night, didn't we?
Sunday joint? It's Thursday.
I never touched it!
Well, someone put it on.
Well, there was no meeting there last night.
Oh! Well, what do you call this, then?
Mum! Dad! It's evil! Don't touch it!
It's strong, isn't it?
Bit bleak, isn't it?
And that was like one of those old, public information films.
Yeah.
Where like, no, Jimmy, stay off the train tracks. Like, Mom, Dad, don't touch it, it's evil. Kids, don't touch pure evil. Also,
if you see pure evil in a toaster, don't touch it.
Come on, kids, don't touch pure evil. Just have Alvin Stardust go, just look at them. Those wallies are about to touch some pure evil. They must be out of their tiny minds. Now,
can't click.
Now, why as well, when his parents are obliterated, why does Sean Connery, the fireman, just give him a little wink and drive off? No one's like, shit, kid, your parents just blew up.
No one said, I remember watching that as a kid and going, God, imagine if that happened and just no one really helped you out. You just sort of on your own then. And everyone's like, oh, that happened.
But at least he's got some Polaroids of his great adventure, which, by the way, who had a Polaroid camera?
Kevin.
Oh, Kevin. Okay, fine.
Yeah. But, because you were right. Before that happened, you think, maybe it's all just in his head. Maybe it's like a metaphor for trying to escape his abusive parents.
And
kind of stuff.
it's got Wizard of Oz vibes, hasn't it? With the supreme being, who's then just a man in a suit, and at the end it's like you were there, Sean Connery, the fireman, who apparently doesn't care that my parents just spontaneously combusted. It's got that whole vibe about it.
But then he does have the photos, and his parents have just died. So. Wow,
that shows him for thinking it was all a dream. His parents died. And what happens next? He's just left there.
Yeah, don't worry about it. That was a very brief run through for the film. I haven't really sold it very well, as ever. But
if that was the elevator pitch, I would not have bought it.
But it gives you a little taste. But trust me, it's far better than I probably made it seem. So Craig Warnock played Kevin. He is now 50 years old. And that is kind of all he ever did, TV and movies wise.
That's all he ever did. Get old.
Yeah. In terms of his Wikipedia page and IMDb, that is it. Apparently, he does still act and is a musician too, but that's all I could find in short space of time that I had to research this episode. But he won the role after a wide search for the right child actor. An agent had seen his brother and sent the brother to an audition. Now, this is awful. Craig just went with him, merely as a coincidence, and Terry Gilliam took more interest in Craig than his brother, noting that he seemed rather intelligent yet aloof and quiet, as opposed to the stereotypical cute little boy. So imagine if you were the brother. They must have fallen out about that. Yeah. Imagine that. Because the brother's the actor. He's the one who wanted the role. He was just there.
He was too keen, though. Wasn't aloof enough. That's what I look for in my 8-year-old kids. Aloofness.
Can't say that. Sounds so dodgy. That's what I see it. That's what I want in my 8-year-old kids.
Move on.
The best character there in Time Bandits, I'd say, is Randall, played by dwarf actor David Rappaport.
Got something to say to you, Kevin. Look, you and me, we've got a lot in common. Not like that. We like a risk. We like adventure. Well, this is it. This is the big one. No namby-pamby time holes here. We risk all. We win everything. Waiter, more champagne.
Yes, sir.
And plenty of ice.
He also appeared in the film The Bride and the TV series LA Law, The Wizard, and as a voice in Captain Planet. Sadly, though, he struggled with depression later in his life, and in May 1990, he committed suicide by shooting himself in California, aged only 38. But yeah, it's a shame we didn't see him in more things, because he's genuinely really, really good in this film. According to Terry Gilliam, though, David Rappaport believed he got his part for his acting ability alone, without size being a contributing factor. As a result, he didn't socialise with his co-stars. During one scene where there's an invisible barrier and the other bandits retaliate against Randall, the actors were apparently expressing their frustration with Rappaport. They were just chucking stuff at him. And that's what it says on IMDb. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I like that as a story. Fidget, played by the late Kenny Baker. We all know Kenny Baker, obviously. R2-D2 and lots of other things.
Although you might not recognise him because he's
doesn't look like he does in Star Wars.
No, he looks different in Star Wars. Yeah.
Malcolm Dixon played Strutter, and sadly, he only died in April this year. He was also an uncredited Oompa Loompa. Imagine that being an uncredited Oompa Loompa.
Also, you just said, sadly, he only died this year. Like, you wished death on him much sooner.
You know what I meant. Mike Edmonds played Og. He also starred in Flash Gordon, The Dark Crystal, and Who Framed Roger Rabbit, so he was very much in demand. And he was also in Return of the Jedi as one of the Ewoks and the operator for Jabba the Hutt's tail, it says here. So he did lots of stuff. And he's still with us. Jack Purvin played Wally. He returned for Brazil and Baron Munchausen, so very much a favourite of Terry Gilliam's. And he also played Tebow in Return of the Jedi. He died in 1997, aged 60. And finally, Tiny Ross. Tiny Ross, that's a great stage name. He played Vermin, and he died in 1994, aged 83. He was from Truro, from your neck of the woods.
My neck of the woods, my birthplace, in fact.
Yeah, there you go. You and Tiny Ross. That's
yeah. Tiny's probably more of a celeb than I am. He probably outranks me when it comes to Truro celebs.
So Terry Gilliam first came up with the idea in 1979. He had wanted to do an entire movie from a kid's point of view. The only problem was he felt he needed to give the protagonist a group of people of similar height to surround him, because a kid he felt couldn't carry an entire movie.
I've got a kid lead character. Who's the same height as a kid? Other kids? No, dwarves. All right.
He felt he couldn't trust one kid or a bunch of kids, because it's hit and miss, isn't it, in films?
Yeah.
You got to be.
And also, if you had a gang of kids, they might start misbehaving and throwing things at each other.
So he combined those thoughts with the concept of committing crimes while time traveling, making it possible to get away with the thievery because it had not happened yet. So he wrote the screenplay with fellow Monty Python star Michael Palin. They worked with their London-based independent company, which was backed in part by former Beatle George Harrison.
Right, yeah. I forgot to bring that up earlier during the trailer. It slipped my mind when it was like, George Harrison presents. What?
Yeah. So he executive produced it along with Dennis O'Brien. Essentially, just gave them loads of money. He even remortgaged one of his properties to do so.
Wow.
He believed in it.
Famously, when George Harrison has got his mind set on something, he will spend a whole lot of money. Yeah,
it's exactly what he does. And in his book about Monty Python, Robert Hewison described the dwarves as representing the different Python troupe. So I like this. So the nice one, Fidget, is said to represent Palin. The self-appointed leader, Randall, is Cleese. The acerbic one, Strutter, is Eric Idle. The quiet one, Og, is Graham Chapman. The noisy rebel, Wally, is Terry Jones. And the nasty, filth-loving one, Vermin, is Gilliam himself. In 1996, Terry Gilliam and Charles McKeown collaborated on a script for Time Bandits 2, bringing back most of the original cast, except David Rappaport and Tiny Ross, who had sadly died a few years earlier.
And not Kevin's parents, who had been spontaneously combusted.
Yeah. Jack Purvis had been paralysed in a car accident at the time, so his character was written to be in a similar state, but when he died, the project was just shelved, because at that point, we're like, well, most of the Time Bandits aren't around anymore, so, and, probably best we don't bother. And that was just it. Didn't bother making it, so maybe one day we'll see the script and see what it was all about. And I got to say, unlike a lot of other films, Time Bandits did receive critical acclaim.
Not even sure we should be talking about it, to be honest. I feel uncomfortable.
It holds an 89% rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
Pretty good.
However, it wasn't a massive success. It did all right. It broke even and did okay, but it wasn't like a huge, massive hit. But in 2018, Apple worked with Anonymous Content, Paramount Television, and Media Rights Capital to gain rights for a Time Bandits TV series for Apple TV Plus, with Gilliam on board in a non-writing production role, and Taika Waititi as the director of the pilot. Now, It hasn't happened yet, but, that sounds amazing to me.
That sounds spot on, yeah. Like a bit of that.
And Dark Crystal was a big success, so maybe this will be a big hit as well. So I feel like I've not done a very good job in selling Time Bandits to you. I think in future, if either of us is doing a film, the other one, I'd recommend the other one watching it first.
I much prefer it this way around, where you badly sell an all-time classic to me.
Because this podcast, this episode in particular, either you haven't seen it, in which case this is just this. I'm making it sound shit, or you have seen it, and I've not sold it well enough at all, and you're furious that I'm making it sound crap. But,
either way, you're angry. Because you're either like, what is this guy talking about? I don't understand what he's talking about, and what I do understand, I don't like. Or you go, he is just missold,
murdering it.
Yeah, he has just absolutely murdered this idea. What is he talking about?
Well, having said that, thoughts?
I mean, those were my thoughts. No, do you know what I love a good adventure film with a kid lead. Very few of those these days. You still have adventure films for the family, but they mostly star The Rock, who's pretty much the opposite of a child. If you were going to evolve an adult male to the ultimate point of evolution, he would look like The Rock. Very much the polar opposite of a child. So I love stuff like that, and I didn't really realise that's what this was. I thought it was more of a kind of Python-esque lark, a comedy. Didn't realise it was a little more along the lines of those 80s fantasy movies that I like Dark Crystal and Labyrinth. Definitely got the same kind of vibe. So, despite the fact that you sold it appallingly, I might actually have to give Time Bandits a go. It's got David Warner in. I'll watch anything with David Warner in. From one Morgan to another, I'll watch it for Dave.
But yeah, it's just of that era. There's nothing else quite like the 80s. We've done so many of them in this podcast, but those sort of like films which are kind of aimed at kids predominantly, but they're not talked down to, and it's quite they're quite serious and dark in their tone, and bad shit happens. Yet there are still funny and heartwarming moments in them as well. And yeah, they're just nothing else quite like them. And I think you could tell from the way I've gone through it that it's kind of like a book in that there's just different bits. They're different chapters of like adventures. So they meet one person, they meet a different creature in a different time zone, and it's great. Which
is why, obviously, I guess it lends itself to the TV series format, because every episode could be a different jaunt into history.
Absolutely. Well, that is it. If you want more, I don't know, nonsensical ramblings about time travel and 80s movies, then head to 2geeks2beers.com, and you can subscribe to us and rate us on wherever you get your podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Deezer, all sorts. And also, if you've enjoyed this episode or any other episode in the past, whether you subscribe to us or not, and you have like-minded friends or family, and they have just as great taste as you do, then let them know about the podcast. Give them a link to it. Maybe pick an episode about that we've tackled in the past about something they love, whether it's, I don't know, Doctor Who or Back to the Future, all sorts.
We've done enough episodes now that there's got to be something they like in there. Come on.
Exactly, yeah.
You can also follow us across all social media platforms: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. That's all of them. At 2geekscast on all of those.
We're not on TikTok yet.
Not yet. Give it time. Maybe when we're back together. And we're also on YouTube. You can find some of our earliest episodes on there in full if you search 2 Geeks, 2 Beers, as well as clips from some of our more recent outings, which, again, you can send to a friend. Spread the word.
And if you head to patreon.com/2geekscast, you'll be able to support us by giving us a little bit of money. And by doing that, you get some exclusive goodies, including a special episode that we recorded that you can only get there, a little bit more, and you'll get an episode dedicated to yourself of your own choosing, whatever you like.
No, not about you. It's not dedicated.
But you can if you want. If you want about it,
you know what? If you pay us, we'll do whatever you like. Yeah.
Well, steady on. But, as ever, please do get in touch over email for any suggestions or just to say hello. It's podcast@2geeks2beers.com.
You can either say, do you know what? I didn't understand a word of that, or Joe, I've seen the film and I did understand it, but I hated it. Either is fine.
So to play us out, so we mentioned George Harrison earlier.
Yeah.
He did provide a song for the soundtrack. So in an interview on the Blu-ray release of Time Bandits, Terry Gilliam claimed that the lyrics to the song Dream Away were Harrison's notes to him concerning Gilliam's behaviour during the production of the film. And more specifically, the tension that arose between them due to Gilliam's reluctance to include any songs performed by Harrison in the film. So essentially, George wanted, he wanted to do the soundtrack. He wanted to do,
put up the money.
Exactly. And apparently Gilliam was like, no, I'm not fucking putting your fucking songs in the fucking film.
He's like, I've written this great track, My Sweet Supreme Being. It can go on. He's like, no, I don't want to hear it, George.
But it's just a great song. So it's a great song to end today
with. Well, more for you, Terry.
Yeah. So this is Dream Away by George Harrison. So enjoy this and see you next time, pals.
If nothing else, we hope you enjoy this. Just found a few classic little bits of IMDb trivia related to the death of Kevin's parents. One piece of alleged trivia, which is really just an opinion, is Kevin's parents' demise at the end of the movie is their comeuppance. Kevin's parents, who were uncaring and neglectful, died because they ignored Kevin and didn't listen to him about the toaster oven. If they had listened to him, they'd still be alive. But also, apparently, executive producer Dennis O'Brien was against the ending of Kevin's parents blowing up, and writer, producer, and director Terry Gilliam had to fight to keep it in the movie. O'Brien was only convinced that the violent ending could stay after an advanced screening of the movie was held for an audience full of children. The first child was asked what their favourite moment of the movie was, excitedly proclaimed, "The parents being blown up!" So there you go.
I like that they judged that on one kid who was clearly being abused by his parents. Or maybe it was the brother. It was furious that his parents let that happen.
He snuck back. Yeah, he snuck back in. He was like, "Do you know what? I liked it when the parents blew up." Yeah, that's what it was. Kevin's brother.